Hi everyone, welcome back to our business math series. Today we're going to talk about a fundamental concept that might seem simple, but is incredibly important as you progress in this course, and this is fractions. Fractions are everywhere in business, from dividing profits to calculating discounts, and they form the basis for more complex calculations we'll cover later. By the end of this video, you should have a better understanding of how fractions work and why mastering them is essential for your success in business. So let's start with the basics. What is a fraction? A fraction represents a part of a whole. It's made up of two numbers, the numerator, which is the top number, and the denominator, which is the bottom number. The numerator tells you how many parts you have, while the denominator tells you how many equal parts the whole is divided into. For example, if you have a pizza divided into 8 slices and you eat 3 of them, you've eaten 3/8 of the pizza. That's a fraction in action. In business, fractions are used in many different ways, and understanding them is key to handling tasks accurately and efficiently. Now, let's talk about some common scenarios in business where fractions come into play. First, dividing profits. Imagine you and a business partner decide to split the profits from your company 50-50. In this case, each of you would get half of the total profits. Understanding fractions ensures you're able to fairly and accurately divide the money that you've earned. Next, let's consider calculating discounts. Say you're shopping during a sale and you see an item that's marked 1/3 off. This means you'll pay 2/3 of the original price. And knowing how to quickly calculate this discount as a fraction helps you understand how much you're really saving. Another example is managing inventory. If you run a store and half of your stock has been sold, you're left with half of your inventory. Fractions help you keep track of stock levels and make informed decisions about ordering more products or adjusting prices. And these are just a few examples of how fractions are applied in everyday business operations. By understanding these applications, you'll be better prepared to handle more advanced concepts later in this course. To effectively use fractions in business, you need to know how to perform basic operations with them. And I'm talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. And so let's talk about each one of them briefly. So when you add fractions, they need to have the same denominator. For example, 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 2/4, which simplifies to 1/2. And this operation is useful when combining resources or shares in a business context. Just like with addition, you need a common denominator for subtracting. For instance, 3/4 minus 1/4 equals 2/4, which again simplifies to 1/2. And this might come into play when you're calculating remaining resources or profits. When we get to multiplying fractions, it gets interesting. Multiplying fractions is straightforward. You simply multiply the numerators together and the denominators together. For example, 1/2 plus 1/3 equals 1/6. And this operation is essential when calculating proportions or scaling quantities in business. Dividing fractions involves flipping the second fraction and then multiplying. For example, 1/2 divided by 1/4 is the same as 1/2 times 4/1, which equals 4/2 or simply 2. And this is useful when you're splitting a resource into smaller parts. Mastering these operations is crucial because they'll be used in many different business scenarios, from calculating interest rates to adjusting financial forecasts. Now you might be wondering, why is all of this so important? In business, accuracy is everything. A small mistake in a fraction can lead to a significant error in financial calculations, pricing, and decision making. So whether you're preparing a budget, analyzing sales data, or negotiating a deal, being precise with fractions ensures that your calculations are correct and your business decisions are sound. Understanding fractions deeply also sets you up for success with more complex topics that we'll cover later, such as percentages, ratios, and if we have time later in this semester, financial analysis. So taking the time to master fractions now will pay off in the long run. That's all for today's lesson on fractions in business math. I hope this brief session helped you see the importance of fractions and how they're used in various business scenarios.